So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily MCQ Practice. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's newspaper or news current affairs through 4 to 5 MCQs. So, what we do is we take one day, we take all the important news items from that day and we try to cover it through 4 to 5 MCQs. There are two benefits that you stand to gain out of this lecture series. Number one, if you have missed that day's current affairs, then your current affairs would get covered. And the next benefit is, and this second benefit is the most important one, you get the much needed MCQ practice. And it will only take 10 minutes of your time. 10 minutes from your day is not that much, okay? Just spend 10 minutes every day with me and cover 4 to 5 MCQs from current affairs. And if you are this lecture series, consistent with spending 10 minutes every day with me on this lecture series, well, in 1 month's time, you would have practiced more than 100 MCQs from current affairs itself. And if you're that consistent that you continue with this lecture series for 1 year till your next year's prelims examination, well, you would have practiced more than 1200 MCQs from current affairs alone. I'm not talking about other subjects, polity, economy, geography, history. I'm talking about current affairs. So as far as your next year's prelims is concerned and current affairs in that exam is concerned, you don't worry at all because you would have covered all the current affairs. You would have practiced more than 1000 MCQs from those current affairs. All right. So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. Be consistent with it. Be regular with it. Okay. On that note, let's straight away jump to question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding carry trade. It involves borrowing at low cost in one currency and investing in another currency with higher interest rates. Yen-euro carry trade leads to capital outflow from emerging markets like India. High interest rates in developed countries incentivizes carry trade from there. How many of the above statements are correct? Now look, what is carry trade? Let's take the example of Japan. Okay. The national currency of Japan is yen. Now, Bank of Japan has kept their interest rates at around 0%. Very low. Okay. Then there is India. India's national currency is rupees. And our Reserve Bank has kept interest rates, repo rate at 6.5%. Now, what do foreign investors do? Foreign investors borrow from Japan in yen. So they borrow money in yen, convert it into rupees, and invest in India, where they'll be getting a return of 6.5%. So they are borrowing at 0% and investing at 6.5%. They stand to gain 6.5% out of it. All right. Had Japan's interest rate been 1%, then also it would have been a profitable proposition. Now, this is known as carry trade. All right. And if you're borrowing from yen, from Japan, then it is called yen carry trade. If you're borrowing from European Union, then it would have been euro carry trade. Okay, so it involves borrowing at low cost in one currency and investing in another currency with higher interest rates. Absolutely correct. Now, generally, developed countries have lower interest rates and developing countries, emerging markets have higher interest rates. And it is because of this reason alone that a lot of money flows from developed countries to developing countries because of this interest rate arbitrage. Okay, because of this difference between interest rates. So what people do is they borrow in yen and they invest in emerging markets like India where interest rates are high. Okay, now yen and euro carry trade leads to capital outflow from emerging markets? No, it actually leads to capital inflow because money is flowing from Japan to India, not from India to elsewhere. Capital outflow, no. Inflow, yes. And because of this word outflow, this statement is false. Okay. Now, India would stand to gain if Japan or Euro or USA has lower interest rates. The moment Japan, Euro, and USA increase their interest rates, well, same foreign investors would dissolve their investments in India and take their money back to Japan. Okay, this is known as unwinding of yen carry trade, and that's what happened in India right now in the recent past. Now, higher interest rates in Japan, in developed countries, incentivizes carry trade. No, it actually disincentivizes carry trade. The lower the interest rates in Japan, low, the better it is for countries like India because carry trade would go on. Okay, so this statement is false because of the word high. It should have been low. How many are correct? Only one. A. Okay, let's jump to question number 2. Which of the following statements regarding GST on insurance services are correct? Currently, GST applicable on health and life insurance premiums is 18%. Prior to GST regime, indirect taxes on insurance services were higher. GST on insurance in India is the highest in the world. IRDA has set the goal of insurance for all by 2030. Which of the above is our correct? Now look, insurance is a service. All right. And that is why GST is applicable on insurance, because GST is, after all, goods and services tax. Okay. Now, GST applicable on health and life insurance is 18%. That's absolutely correct. But do you know what? Opposition members are asking for reducing this GST rate because of this high GST rate, insurance is becoming quite expensive for people in India. All right. In fact, at 18%, India's tax on insurance services is one of the highest in the world. Okay. Now, before GST regime, service tax was applicable on service tax and various cess. Okay. Before the coming of GST, insurance services were taxed, indirect taxes, but they were not higher than GST. GST is 18%. Before GST, service tax on insurance services was not more than 15%. So this statement is false. In fact, GST has increased taxes on insurance. GST on insurance in India is highest in the world. That's absolutely correct. Now, opposition parties are saying that India needs to reduce GST because Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, IRDA, has set the goal of insurance for all by 2047, not 2030. And for that to happen, insurance should be affordable. If insurance is unaffordable, how would IRDA achieve its goal? People would not buy insurance because it's very expensive. Okay. IRDA has set the goal for insurance for all by 2047. So this is also false. And the correct answer is 1 and 3. All right. Now let's move on to next news item. Consider the following statements regarding tax incentives for insurance promotion in India. So if you take insurance schemes, if you invest in insurances, then you get some tax benefits, okay, income tax benefits. Under Section 80C of Income Tax Act, a customer can avail income tax deduction of rupees 1.5 lakh on overall insurance premium, okay. If customers opt for a medical rider with their life insurance policies, Section 80D provides for additional deductions on the premium. Which of the above statements is correct? Now look, if you have taken life insurance and you have paid life insurance premium, then you can get deductions up to 1.5 lakh on your income tax. That's absolutely correct. This is mentioned in Section 8 Income Tax Act. Now, along with life insurance, if you have a medical insurance, okay, that is what we mean by medical rider, then as per Section 80D of Income Tax Act, you can claim additional deductions more than 1.5 lakh. This is also correct. So both are correct. Okay. So government wants you to take insurances because government is giving you benefits on income tax. All right. Consider the following statements regarding antitrust regulations in India. Competition Commission of India, a non-statutory body, is the antitrust regulator. Today, if someone is aggrieved by the CCI's decision, they can appeal against the decision in Competition Appellate Tribunal. The chairperson and members of CCI are appointed by central government. Which of the above statements is correct? Now look, what do we mean by antitrust regulations? Look, we want in India that business environment promotes competition. Business environment in India promotes competition among businesses and restrict monopoly. So a dominant company shouldn't misuse its dominant position. Okay? For that, countries antitrust laws. Okay, so antitrust laws are those laws which promote competition and prevent monopolization of market or misuse of monopolization. Okay. In India, the antitrust regulator is Competition Commission of India, which was established by Competition Act of 2002. So it is a statutory body, not a non-statutory body. This is false. Now, if CCI gives a decision against a company, and if that company does not agree with that decision, is aggrieved by that decision, well, they can appeal against the decision of CCI. Okay. In Competition Appellate Tribunal, COMPAT. COMPAT was established under Competition Act. They could have appealed CCI's decision in COMPAT. Okay. But in 2017, Government of India abolished COMPAT and replaced it with National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. Okay. So today, if we are talking about today, you can appeal in NCLAT, not COMPAT, because COMPAT doesn't exist. Okay. So this is also false. Now, the chairperson and members of CCI, there is one chairperson and 6 members of CCI are appointed by central government. This is absolutely correct. Okay. So the answer to this question would be D. And last, Which of the following are the new additions through Disaster Management Amendment Bill? As you guys all know, there is this Disaster Management Act which was enacted in 2005. Well, after the Wayanad landslides and many other disasters in the past couple of years, government wants to change this act. So government is pushing some amendments. And for that, government has tabled Disaster Management Amendment Bill in the Lok Sabha. Okay. Now, what changes are being proposed in the Disaster Management Act by this new bill? Okay, let's take a look at that. Establishment of Urban Disaster Management Authority in all 4,900 statutory towns of India. Okay. Increase role for National Disaster Management Agency. Inclusion of law and order related situation in the definition of man-made disasters. National Disaster Database to be established by NDMA. Okay. Now, under the new bill, government has said that there is National Disaster Management Agency at national level, State Disaster Management Agency at state level, but at urban level also there should be a Disaster Management Agency, and that is called Urban Disaster Management Agency. Absolutely correct. The new bill asks for the formation of UDMA. But this new UDMA will not be for every town in India. It will be only formed for big cities. And what are those big cities? Which are those big cities? Well, state capitals. Okay. And all those cities with municipal corporations. Okay. Big cities have municipal corporations, small cities have municipalities. So only those cities which have municipal corporations can form UDMA. So it is not applicable for all towns in India. No, only state capitals and cities with municipal corporations. Okay, and UDMA will be headed by a municipal commissioner also. So this is false because it is not in all statutory towns. Now, under this new bill, there is increased role for NDMA. Absolutely correct. Now, in the previous 2005 Act, disasters were defined. Okay, and under this act, disasters were given a definition and they were classified into two parts: natural disasters and artificial or man made disasters. Okay. Now, man made disasters also included riots, protests, and all that. Now, under this new bill, government has said that natural disasters, okay, law and order situation like riots or protests, that won't be included in man-made disasters. Those are different situations. Man-made disasters would include collapse of a building, collapse of a dam, all that stuff. Law and order shouldn't be included in the definition of man-made disasters. So law and order things are now excluded from the definition of man-made disasters and the ambit of this act. Okay, so inclusion, no exclusion. Okay. Plus, this new bill has asked for creating a national disaster database which lists down all the disasters taking place in our country. Okay, and this has to be established by NDMA. This is absolutely correct. Only two statements are correct. The correct answer would be B. And with that, we come to an end of this lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it is adding value to your preparation, but it would add more value if you are regular, consistent with this lecture series. All right. So on that note, I'll be signing off, and I'll see you next time with next day's current affairs through MCQs. Thank you, everyone.